of all, I'm Dan Skolnick, life and business coach. I'm a speaker. I'm also a writer and a consultant. And mostly I'm passionate about helping people discover what their passion is and then making a business out of it, if they want to, of course.
All right. So how does it work? So like how you help people to like discover like their passion?
Well, as I always say, for you to start a business, first you need to become a businessman or businesswoman. And to do that, you start growing and getting to know yourself, and then that will apply to your business. So we start first with typical questions. I mean, why do you want to become an entrepreneur? It's much harder. It's much more defined than just being an employee. So why would you want to do that? I mean, most small businesses, when they start, they just close in less than 2 years. Most of them just fail. So why would you want to get into this world? So I start with the why, right?
Okay. So how you help them to understand that why? Because like it is a lot of work, and I think it's a name that people want to, like a title they want to put on themselves, that like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businessman, businesswoman, but like it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And also like it comes with like a lot of uncertainty, because it's not like you know how much you're going to earn at the end of the month, especially when you start like taking off. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why I talk about the myths of being an entrepreneur. Most people just idealize it. They think, no, it's going to be great. I'm going to be a great businessman. I'm going to sell my app to Google for thousands of millions. And it's rarely like that.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I even though I really want you to start your business, I will start, just saying the opposite. Because most people start their business because of these 3 or 4 issues or factors. The first one is that they don't want to have a boss. They're tired of it. They just want to be their own boss, to just that don't have anyone to give them orders, just be free in that aspect. So people say, I want to start my business, be my own boss, and it sounds great. The thing is that you do have a boss. It's you.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can just lie to yourself and no one will do anything about it. So if you lie to your boss, I don't know, if you just don't come in on Monday to work, something will happen, But if you don't start working on your business on Monday morning, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
And if you do that on Tuesday, nothing will happen as well. And as you said before, when the end of the month comes, you realize that nothing happened, and also you earned nothing.
I think it also comes with a lot of learning to be self-accountable, because nobody's like, as you said, you have no boss. So which is like, yeah, you have freedom, but at the same time, there's nobody who is going to like check on you that you actually show up, that you do the work.
Exactly. I mean, there's no one checking on you if you talk to the clients, if you create new products, if you work, how many hours you work. I mean, it's all up to you. And it's a great freedom, and it's also great responsibility. So that's why I say people need to be ready to manage that responsibility. They need to have habits, skills, the right mindset to become a businessman or businesswoman.
How can they learn to like do that?
Good question. The famous how. Well, first of all, as I said, they need to really get clear about why they are becoming an entrepreneur. They need to really know what's moving them, because if it's not having a boss, it's not enough. If it's like, okay, I just want to have a schedule flexibility and manage my times, okay, that's great. But it's not, as you said, it's not as easy as it seems, because you decide when to work, when to stop, where to
Yes,
work
like if you
out.
tell yourself that I just want to have more time, then as you start off, you will feel like you have more time, but actually you're just not doing any work.
Yeah. And then you say, but I mean, if I started my business to have more free time, so it's like you give yourself that permission to do nothing
Yeah.
for most part of the day, and then you complain that at the end of the month you're not getting the results you want.
Mhm.
So I think first of all you need to know why you're doing it, because you can also have flexibility in your schedule working as an employee. Most of the things people value of becoming an entrepreneur, they could also have those things in some kind of normal job, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not enough. If they say, I don't want to have a boss, okay, you could be an independent one. You could have a really, really nice boss. It's possible. I want to manage my schedule. Okay, you can also do that working with projects while you're an employee. So other people say, I really want to have my business because I had a great idea. They just like they're so secretive, and they're like
Actually, like I was listening. I remember I had a conversation with somebody on a Facebook group, and they were like, "Oh, I'm like a visionary. I want to be the person who comes up with ideas and somebody else executes, but I'm the one who's taking like credit from those ideas. Like I want to be like an architect." And I'm like, "It's not the way it works."
Yeah, people just want to hire someone else to do what they need to do for their business, at least at first. Then you can delegate, you can get more people. But at first, you are the one who needs to implement that idea.
Yeah.
Actually, what I always say, you don't need a great idea to become a businessman. You just need to be someone willing to become a businessman, willing to learn, willing to get to know yourself.
So how can you, let's say when you talk to your clients or people that you work with, how you know that they actually are like willing to do that? Because many times what I have seen with people, they're like, well, I want to change, I want to have results, but like they end up doing nothing, or they take no action towards like changing where they are. So how you know that they actually are like willing to actually go all the way or start taking actual action?
That's a great question. I think first of all you need to see if the person is just having that speech because it's something she's always said or he's always said, and it's just normal for them, but that speech doesn't apply to their life.
Mm-hmm.
And other times it's just that they're fearful. I mean, they're full of fears. That's why they're not taking action. They want to. They really want that change in their life. They're just not. It's not they're not ready. They just don't know how to overcome their fear. That's the most paralyzing thing.
What are the most common fears that people have?
Well, actually, I speak of them in my book, The Princess Path.
Okay.
Self-help and business novel.
I didn't even know you had a book until I read in your profile. I'll have to check it out.
Of course, it's available on Amazon. Yeah, I'll send it later.
Okay.
There are three main fears. The first of one is fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most people just say, what happens if I start my business and it fails? What happens if I don't get the results I want? And they usually tend to think that success means making lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
So failure would be an opposite, not making money.
Yeah.
So
it's like really black and white thinking.
Yeah. And besides, as I always say, if you want to make money, just keep on being an employee.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I actually work for entrepreneurs to build their business and have the money they want. And to do that, it takes a process. So in short term, it's probably you're going to work more hours and gain much less money. Actually, you're going to have to put money out of your pocket to invest in your business. So if it's only for money, don't do it. It's suicide.
Yeah.
So that's the first fear.
And I think also when it comes to money, it's like you will not get it right away. It might take even years to get to a place where you actually earn like good money.
It might or it might not. What I work is to accelerate those processes and to make it the least time possible.
Okay.
It could be 3 months, it could be 1 month, it could be 3 years. But I always say, if you have no earnings, no gain, no profit, you have no business. And to have profit, first you need to serve.
Yeah.
So if you don't serve, you have no profit. If you have no profit, you have no business. So that's the order.
Yeah. And what is the second fear?
Yeah, the second fear is fear of rejection. What if people mock me? What if people say no? What happens when I expose myself, when I have to sell, when I have to talk to potential clients? I mean, some people just have their hands sweaty and they're just like, oh no, please don't answer the phone. Don't answer the phone. Oh no, she answered.
I remember I was like that at first when I was starting to get calls with people. I was so stressed.
Yeah, it's really, really common.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the biggest fears, fear of rejection, which is sometimes introduced in fear of sales or actually exposing yourself. Some people even are ashamed or afraid of saying, just commenting what they do. When they introduce themselves, they're like, just, I'm a coach, or they just whisper it. I'm a writer, I'm an architect, I'm whatever.
Do you know why they do it?
Yeah, because if they actually declare what they do, doesn't matter what specialty it is, when they declare it, they think that people will judge them. They will judge them for what they do or what they don't do, for what they have or what they don't have. And I'll put my example. It took me about a year for me to say that I was a writer. Why? Because I thought that when I declared it, people would think, you're a writer. Where are your books? Where are your bestsellers? I mean, So
I think actually you touched on a really important point, is that many times people, maybe they want to get to a place that, oh, I actually am a best-selling author and only then I can call myself a writer.
Exactly. And actually, a writer is someone who writes. A coach is someone who coaches.
Yeah, it's like an identity.
An architect is someone who builds. It doesn't matter if you have a 10-floor building or just a small house in the backyard.
Yeah.
You're still an architect.
This actually is really a good point. I never really thought about it as much, but it actually makes a lot of sense, because then, like, I think people think that, okay, I can call myself this and that only when I get to this level, but you actually already are doing it.
Yeah, and actually for you to get to that level, you need to start calling yourself
that.
Because if you don't identify yourself as that person, as that role, how could others acknowledge you for that? It's impossible.
Yeah, like you have to be the first one who is doing that.
Yeah, it always starts from inner to outside. So
you also mentioned the judgment. How can one maybe stop worrying about it or change the way they look at people possibly judging them?
Well, first of all, when people think that other people will judge them, generally they are judging themselves. When I said to myself, no, people will ask if I'm a bestseller or not when I say I'm a writer, actually it was me judging myself and saying, well, Dan, I mean, you're not a bestseller. Who do you think you are to call yourself a writer, right? So generally the judgment also comes from within. Mostly, sometimes it comes with family patterns or even social limiting beliefs. Doesn't matter. The thing is that we judge ourselves, and when we keep judging ourselves, we can't identify completely with that role. And as I said before, if we can't identify with that role, we can't be it. I can't be a coach, a businessman, whatever, if I don't identify with it, because I have limiting beliefs that think that is bad, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to make it.
So how can they overcome those limiting beliefs?
Well, first of all, you have to acknowledge them. You have to take consciousness and really get aware that they exist, that you are repeating them, that you took them from somewhere, you bought them, and you sustained them, and you fed them, and they are there. So just pushing them in the corner and thinking things will pass, it's not enough. You need to, after you take conscious of that, you need to start dealing with them. And sometimes for those moments, it depends the belief, but if it's a belief that you've been holding on for so many years, you might need some help from the outside world. Coach, a guide, therapy in some way, because you're just too blind to, you're too involved to actually defy that belief, right?
Yeah.
So after you found out what your limiting beliefs are and you start defying them, you need to take that into actions. It's not good enough to say, yeah, it's right. I'm actually a writer because I write, and that's enough. It's
done. The work is done.
5 minutes session. Yeah. After that, you need to actually believe it, and for you to believe it, you need to act on it. You need to be it. So you have to take it into small actions every day. Small actions could be a declaration in the mirror. It could be just, when you introduce yourself to someone, say it. I'm a writer. I mean, my process, and I'll just share it because it might help, was from not acknowledging it and not wanting anyone to know. I was like, I do this and that and that. And I also write as a hobby. So I thought that when I said it that way, nobody judged me.
Yourself included.
After that, what?
Yourself included.
Yeah, especially myself.
Yeah.
Exactly. After that, I started to mention it when I made peace or started making peace with the fact that I could be a writer and there was nothing wrong with that. Actually, it was really, really good for me. So I started mentioning it after I said all the other things, like I'm this and that and that and that, and just in a whisper, and I'm also a writer. Just like if you say that last, it won't matter, right?
Yeah.
And then it was gradually, after a while, about 3 or 4 months, I started just saying it out loud, just with more confidence every time, just gaining confidence in myself. I mean, that's the main issue. People in some aspect of their life, and I'm willing to say everyone, in some aspect of their life, are lacking confidence.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
It could be in their business, it could be in their relationships, it could be with their friends. It doesn't matter where. But in some aspect of their life, they are lacking confidence. And when you realize that, it's much easier to start working on that. It's to start working on your self-confidence. As I always say, I'm a life and business coach because for you to handle your business, first you have to handle your life. For you to have confidence in your business, first you need to have confidence in yourself, in your life, in how you are in other aspects as well.
So how do you build that confidence?
Well, first of all, people think their confidence depends on the results. I'm good at something if something else happens. If I get this result, if I earn some kind of money. And it's not like that. It's actually the other way around. I'm good enough just for being myself. I don't owe anything to anyone. It starts acknowledging that you might have heard that you needed to be someone special or to do something to feel important. So I bought a new car, I'm important. I
like
got
you
a
have to
promotion
earn
to
it.
a job, I'm important. Sorry?
It's like you have to earn it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you have to earn your confidence with things or with actions or with facts. And it's not like that. I mean, confidence is. I am confident about myself. I believe in me just because I believe. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. That's the point. People are always trying to prove that they're good enough, that they're worth it, that they're successful. And there's nothing to prove. Actually, they're proving it to themselves, of course.
Yeah.
So it's just going to the core. There are lots of things that you do on your daily basis that you're good at. Lots of things that you're actually really good at. So most people, when they're lack of confidence, their focus is on what they do wrong, what they don't have, what they're lacking. And the first powerful exercise is to shift their focus onto things that they are already doing, that they're good at, that they know how to do, that they've learned, that they've grown. And there's lots of things there. It's just that when people don't put their focus there, they just don't see them. And when they don't see them, they buy the story that they're not good enough, that they're lacking this and that.
Yeah. I think with the confidence, one thing that I have seen is that many times people wait to feel confident to do something, but actually you get confident by starting first. And then along the way, that's when you build the confidence. So confidence is not like the cause, it's like result of what you do.
Yeah, people just, and that's another thing. People just wait to feel confident.
Or motivated.
Right? Yeah, or feel motivated or feel ready. And you're never going to be ready. I mean, actually, that's why my company's name is It's Time, because the time is now. It's always time to start, to grow, to build, to create, to generate. You can't wait for the ideal variables to come in place. You can't wait for the ideal scenario or for till the dollar comes this or the economy that or COVID. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're going to have to build that ideal context for you to take action. And you start taking action. When you do that, then you start gaining confidence.
Yeah, and also I think like as you start doing those things, you actually learn along the way that things that you couldn't really prepare for, even if you were studying like for years.
That's completely true.
That's what I have learned from experience.
Yeah. People just try to, like have it all under their control. And you can't control all the variables. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So the results will depend on your efforts and the uncontrollable variables. The uncontrollable variables don't depend on you. You don't control them.
Yeah.
So just let go and shift your focus to the things you do control, the things you can take action on today.
I think it goes a lot in hand with people being like perfectionists or wanting everything to be like perfect, and then they overthink it and they end up like not doing anything.
Yeah, because they want to have it all figured out before they start it, and it's never like that. As you said, in the process, you will learn that lots of things will come, will knock you down or not, will shake you. I mean, actually, the third fear that we were talking about, the first one is failure, the second one is rejection, and the third one is uncertainty. We live in an uncertain world, and people want to control that uncertainty, and they just can't. You can be more prepared. You can do that, but you can't control the outcome.
How can one deal with like uncertainty? Because I think that's something that so many people, let's say they don't start business, they don't start some of their like hobbies or like projects just because they are afraid of that like uncertainty. So like how can somebody deal with that uncertainty?
It's going to sound simple. I
Everything is simple.
The best way to deal with uncertainty is taking action and seeing the result. I mean, people actually fears 99% of the times are just in our mind. It's about something that didn't happen, that hasn't happened yet, or that happened in the past and might happen again. And we just build ourselves a whole story about everything that could go wrong. So I think the best way to just stop with that story and face the uncertain is step by step. I don't need to know where this path takes me because I have no idea. If I wanted to wait and before starting to just know where this will take me, I will wait my whole life. I have no idea where this path will take me, where this process will end, where this relationship will turn into. I don't know. Unless I start, I'll just keep on not knowing my whole life and waiting for something to happen.
I think also with uncertainty, even like, let's say myself, when I started the podcast, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And like, I remember I was joking around with my brother that I can't start podcast until I have the intro music. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to start it anyways. And then like on episode, I think 7 or 8, I started to add that music. And then some things happened that I couldn't even like prepare for, that they just appeared as it happened. And like several episodes, something would go wrong, but at the same time, like each time I learn a lesson. So it's not really like me failing, it's just me like learning something to prepare for like in the future.
Yeah, and I think most people are afraid of failure, and you've heard that failure isn't failure it's learning. What I also like to say is that success is also learning. We don't just learn when we fail, we learn when we have success as well. When things come out the way we want them to do, we also have to learn. I think learning is always, it doesn't matter the outcome. Because when you can do that, you can capitalize, you can just accelerate processes and learn much more and have much more life experience than if you are just waiting for a failure or waiting for success to learn.
I think like one other thing I wanted to ask you is, let's say there are many people that they have never experienced success, so they have no idea how it looks, and like for them that's pretty much like uncertainty as well. They are afraid of success because they don't know what success is or how they will deal with it. They know how it is to be like miserable, broke, not successful in whatever area they are like focusing on. So like how can one deal with that or come out of that mindset where they don't really know any other like reality than being where they are?
Well, that's a great question. There are lots of people who are not only fearful of failure, but also of success, because they start to self-sabotage themselves because some internal part of them is saying, this is not right. Who will I become if I have a thriving business? Who will I become if I become, if I have this wonderful thing in my life? People are just scared that they might change, mostly because they have limiting beliefs about money, about businessmen who are maybe they don't have the same values as them, or they think that people who have money are bad, or because they they actually think they don't deserve it, or they feel guilty if they start to have the results they want. So that's actually happening when they start getting some results. When people say they are in a fear of success and they haven't even started, I don't believe them. They're actually in the fear of failure. Now, when they started having results, then the fear of success might come in, and then you have to work on self-sabotage.
Okay, so it's like either if they haven't had any success yet, then mainly it's like fear of failure. But if it's that they have some results, then it's like self-sabotaging and like fear of being successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is that they just lie to themselves and believe that it's fear of success, because that makes them feel that, well, they are somehow successful, at least in their mind.
And it's better to fear success than failing.
Yeah, I think it also has a better like social acceptance.
Yeah. It's okay if you fail. It's okay if you are afraid of success, but it's not okay if you're afraid of like failing.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still like the same.
Of course, yeah, I think it's two sides of the same thing, which is fear of the outcome, fear of the result. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If it's what I thought it would be or isn't. It's fear of the outcome.
So how can one person learn not to fear that outcome, or maybe not to focus on it? Because I think many times, like what I have seen with people that I work with, is that they focus too much on the result, but like not as much on the process, because the process is actually what will get you those results.
Exactly. And actually, people forget why they were here in the first place. When they start their business and they're just thinking about how much money I need to gain and how much clients I need to have and how much cost I need to take or to give, well, they lose their focus because they're starting to think about what they will win instead of thinking what they will deliver, what they will give, what they will offer, what they will serve. And that's the essence. I mean, you can't have a project. It doesn't matter if it's a business or a non-profitable organization. It's the same. If you have a project, your focus, your essence should be serving others. If that's not why you're doing it, then don't do it because it's not right for you.
Yeah.
And it's really common for us to lose our way, to lose ourselves actually in the process, as you said, to start thinking about other things and other skills and just get away from that essence that was actually our first and original why. That's why I started today with why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Because when it's going to become a defined road, a bumpy road, when you're not going to get the result you want, when you're going to have to look to fear in your eyes and just do it anyways, when you're going to feel uncomfortable, when things don't happen the way you wish they would, that's when you resign, unless you have a powerful why.
How can someone create that like powerful why? Yeah.
Yeah, that why can't be just for you. And that's what people usually forget. That why has to be for someone else. Yes, you were saying?
Yeah, I wanted to ask like how can someone create that like why where it's like strong enough to keep them going at those times?
It's going to the root. It's going to what's deeper and deeper and deeper. And for that, you need to ask this question: why, lots of times. Because people will say, well, I just want to become an entrepreneur to gain more money or to have schedule flexibility or to be my own boss or to become a millionaire. It doesn't matter. That's just the superficial. Beneath that, there has to be a core necessity to give. And until you connect to that, you won't feel motivated enough, especially when the times are rough, especially when you want to quit, when you're tired of just moving forward and you're tired. I mean, it happens. And when you work alone, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
You become frustrated, that you're tired. You just
like every day you question yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Am I actually doing this? Why am I doing it? I mean, it's hard. And so in those moments, if you can't connect to a real powerful why, because you don't have it in the first place, or you don't have it, consciously, it's going to be really difficult to keep on moving forward. and you're just going to bullshit yourself with excuses,
Yeah.
with just things that just to argue why it didn't work. I mean, you just already start thinking. When you have to call that client and you're scared and you don't want to and you're tired, you're just going to say, I think a lot of reasons of why this business didn't work for me, and none of them has to do with you.
Of course. It's never me. It's everybody else. Also, like, speaking of that, maybe you can talk a bit more how important it is to actually take that responsibility where you stop blaming everything else.
It's everything. It's everything. I think actually that's the most difficult part of being an entrepreneur and a businessman or woman. It's taking responsibility on your life. Because when you are an employee, generally, you're more in a passive situation when you wait for someone to give you orders, to give you money, to give you something.
Yeah.
So you wait, and then you comply, right?
Yeah.
When you don't like what they are giving you, you can complain. If my boss doesn't pay me enough, if he just treats me the wrong way, if I don't like my job, you can complain, because complaining, people think it's free, but it has a huge cost on yourself, on your confidence, and your relationship as well. But despite of that, when you start your own business, who are you going to complain with? Who are you going to complain to? You're the boss, you're the employer, you're also the employee, you're the business, you're the general manager, you're the finance manager, you're the marketing manager. I mean, you work the whole positions. You do everything. So who are you going to complain to but yourself? So that's when you start taking responsibility, because your business mostly depends on you. Your results mostly depend on you.
Yeah.
Your growth depends on you. So, as you said, when we start taking responsibility, which is one of the hardest things, we become more powerful. When we stop making excuses, when we stop blaming others, and we start shifting our mindset and thinking, okay, how can I make that possible? How can I make this happen? What do I need? What do I need to learn? Who will I ask? And here it's crucial that you have a coach, a mentor, a guide, someone who has already been there and can help you in those doubtful times. So when you really, really comprehend that the only one accountable for your results in your life, for your happiness in your life, for your wealth in your life, is yourself, your life changes. It's a moment before and after in your life. I mean, it's incredible. And I have the privilege, because for me it's a privilege, to accompany people to get to that point when they start taking responsibility in their life. They start growing their influence in their life. They start shifting their focus on what they can do, on what it depends on them, and things start getting together and putting in the right place.
Yeah, I think it's also because they don't really, their focus is shifting from them looking who to blame towards like, how can I actually change it, because there's nobody else to blame but themselves.
Exactly. I like that. Shift our focus from who to blame to who to serve.
Yeah, because they both take equal amount of focus and attention, and you can focus on both of them. So instead of focusing on who to blame, just focus on how you can get better or like solve the problem.
And actually, Astra, it's really hard work.
Oh yeah.
Keep on focusing on what's wrong, on what we're missing, on why the other people did or do that. I mean, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, how would you say, so let's say the person who is especially when they start off there by themselves, how can they deal with those situations where they are like feeling down, or they want to give up, or like they pretty much feel stuck, And like some of them might feel like they have nobody to go to. Like, is there a way how somebody can resolve and or like pick themselves up without looking for something like externally?
Yeah. It's a bit harder when you're self-motivating yourself or self-coaching yourself, but it's possible. Of course it's possible. I mean, I do it all the time. You need to have some tools that I think everyone has, because the person who spent most time with you is you. I mean, you've accompanied yourself for I don't know how many years. You've you know what to say and what not to say, what to do and what not to do, to change a state, to change an emotion, to change how you're feeling and what you're thinking. I mean, you've done it your whole life. The thing is, now you're going to do it consciously.
How can one do it consciously?
Well, it starts in this self-development path that I think everyone starts, or hopefully starts. It doesn't matter in which part of your life, and it's only a one-way path. I mean, it's only going forward. And some practical tips for you to start shifting your emotions and changing your inner state when you're feeling down, when you're not feeling motivated, when you're feeling that something's missing, or you're just feeling that you just want to throw everything in the trash and go back to being an employee with no responsibilities, nothing to on your shoulders, you know?
Yeah.
First of all, take it out of your shoulders because it's really heavy, and put it somewhere else. Put it somewhere else. That weight that you're feeling right now, shift it. Where would you like to carry it? If you like to carry it. And if you don't want to carry that pressure, leave it behind. Just actually, literally, take that backpack with everything you have, take that bag and throw it away.
Yeah.
And some practical tips to do that is to write down everything you're feeling. It's I wouldn't say the fastest, but when you're starting, it's a very efficient way to acknowledge and first to take consciousness of yourself. Just write it down. When you're feeling weary, when you're feeling tired, write it down. Actually, the first thing I do when someone starts working with us is for them to get a journal, a personal diary, a success journal, and in that they will put everything they're feeling, every fear, every moment of joy, of happiness, every thought, everything. So when you're feeling that way, go to that journal and write. Just write it so you're feeling a bit better.
Is there like any way how you give like some guidance how to do that writing, or just about writing it down?
The important thing is to write it down and don't think what you're writing. Because this is not an exercise to think, it's an exercise to feel.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if what you're writing is really tough, if it doesn't make sense, if it's not grammatically correct.
I was about to mention grammar.
Yeah. Forget grammar here.
Yeah.
And then after you've just burst it all out in that paper, in that sheet, then you can reread it and start analyzing it. Then you can go to the analyzing and mental part. But first you have to get that feeling out of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if it's not out there, you can't see it. You can't work with it. And I'm sure that when you start writing, you will then, when you read it, see that you had those limiting beliefs. You can just highlight them. That you had a fear, maybe inside of that thought, that you will start analyzing what you just wrote, and you will start seeing things you didn't see before.
I think it's also important in a way that when you write down, especially when you are like really emotional, writing it down helps you to slow down your thinking, and that way you calm down yourself.
Yeah, it has more than one effect. Even if people don't understand it, just do it. Just take it all out and write.
Yeah, it's like when you write, don't think about it. And like several times when I have done similar thing, I just write everything down, and when I look back at it, I'm laughing about how could I think this being in that moment.
It's incredible. But the only way for you to reach that inner thought or inner feeling is when you write it. Because if you only just put it through in your head over and over again, just the same story, and just keep repeating that, you won't get deep enough. You just keep on the surface, and you need to go deeper. And a really easy way of going deeper is writing. Because when you write, as you said now, Astra, when you write without thinking, just feeling and letting it go, you will get to places that you couldn't think it's possible, and you will see, like, I wrote that, really? No.
Several times I have looked at what I wrote and I'm like, no way I did or thought this. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important that like you can go back, let's say a few months before, and you can see your growth.
That's what I was exactly going to say. That's the second benefit, that I do that all the time. If you're feeling worried, you just go back and read a year ago when you were feeling ashamed, fearful, tired, whatever. It doesn't matter. Mad about some other situation, how you resolved it, and I'm pretty sure it went pretty well. So it's really good to measure our growth and to really have it there for us to consult it at any time, right?
Yeah. And also, like, when you look back, you see that, well, the problem that at the time felt really big, now it's nothing.
Yeah.
Because you have grown.
Because you have grown, and the problem isn't as big as we dimensioned. Never.
Yeah.
It's never that big.
It's like the problem itself, it's usually just a fact. Something happened. It's not good or bad, just a fact. It happened. But then we are the ones who add the meaning, whether it's good or bad, or like tragic, or oh my gosh, this mistake happened, it's the end of the world. That's when we add that like color to the situation.
Yeah, we're really creative, creating stories that are absolutely tragical, most likely almost impossible to occur, and we still feel frightened when we think that.
Yeah, it's crazy how we come up with those stories, because it's like when you take human nature outside of the equation, everything is so simple.
Yeah, and I think it depends. If we see human nature as true love, which I think is our essence, it's much easier and much more simple than we think it is.
Oh yeah.
Over dimension and just start building this whole story to make ourselves feel the way we feel, because our fears, and this is a very important thing, protect us.
So how are they protecting us?
Our fears protect us because they always have a positive effect on us. For example, if I'm feeling afraid of starting my business, that fear is protecting me from, for example, being judged by my parents because I didn't finish my career or my PhD, for example. So when I feel that fear, most people don't actually know where it's coming from and mostly what it's protecting them from. But when you realize that, the fear automatically becomes much, much smaller. Sometimes it just disappears.
Yeah. I think it's important to learn to like let go a lot of times.
Yeah.
Even when you were talking about the confidence, a lot of times we just have to let go the things that we believe we are not confident in.
That's if we want to let go. And
yeah.
I think,
well, a lot of times we don't.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Astra. It's as simple, it's not easy, but it's as simple as letting go. And some people are just ready to let go because that story, that belief, that feeling made them feel safe in other moments in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And like I'm reading a book called Letting Go, and there's a lot about how when you let go, it's like it's not that you are lacking something. You just have to let go things that you believe are the reasons why you lack something. Because at the core, as you said, like you're that like confident person. It's just that we create these stories why we are not. We just have to let go of those stories instead of trying to build and catch this like confidence level at some point.
Yeah. It starts by letting go of what we thought would happen, of what we thought people demanded from us. It's letting go also sometimes of those pressures or standards that the society evaluates and we buy, and just live on our own terms. That's it's easy to say, and it's really a true process to actually live on our own terms, because sometimes we don't even know what our own terms are.
Yeah. So how can one, like, let's say, I think at all times when you start or try to live on your own terms, you might feel like lonely or like not understood. How can someone deal with that if they go through it?
Okay. First of all, who are you connecting with? Who are your friends? Who is your social group? Because it's really hard when you feel alone. And here's the difference. Being alone and feeling alone are two completely different things. There are people who are accompanied with others physically, presently, but they feel alone. I mean, and there are other people who are alone physically, but still they feel accompanied with others. They feel connected with others. So it's actually about how you feel, not how you are. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough to feel lonely. And when you start living on your own terms, when you start, it happens a lot when people start reading self-development books and seeing different speakers and going to courses, and they start going into a world which is a world of growth or of inner development, and they kind of expect that their social group will go in there with them. They kind of demand that their partner will also read, or their friends would also listen to a course. And if they don't do that, and it's really natural, because why would they do it if each person is different? They usually tend to think, no, the problem is that my inner circle is toxic. Everyone is toxic. And it's not that they're toxic. They just have a different view on things.
Yeah.
Most times, it's not like they're toxic. It's they're not in the self-development world or in the entrepreneur world like you are, and it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's learning to accept that, like, you shouldn't have expectation for everybody to always support you, even if they are your friend or family member.
I think maybe support you even if they don't understand you. Because if they are actually your friends, they should support you. What the thing is that you believe that support will come in one form, in one way, and maybe support for them is telling you, I don't think this will work, because it's their way of making sure you're safe, or you don't fail in some way. So they are supporting you, not in the way you need, maybe.
Yeah, like what I meant is in a way that and I have had conversations with people where they are like, oh, nobody is like supporting me in my circle, or they're like talking down on me, and it's like that's pretty much when I usually tell, like, it's their way of supporting you from their perspective. But like if you allow that to get in your way to do your own thing, like that's when you have to kind of let go that expectation for like everybody to support you. Otherwise it can like sabotage your progress.
Exactly. I introduce it as fear of rejection. I mean, it's our fear of our family, our friends, our partner rejecting what we do, and essentially who we are or who we become in that process.
Yeah. Maybe you can give a bit of information where people can find you, or what do you do, if they what you help them with.
Of course. As I said in the beginning, first of all, people who are wanting to start their business, it doesn't matter if you're an employee who just dreams about it, but just you're willing to take action. It could be someone who is already starting to have their business, or it could be someone who has already started and wants to grow their business. Doesn't matter in which state you are, in which phase you find yourself. We have an entrepreneurship mastermind where it's 9 months of immersion when you become from employee to businessman or businesswoman, non-stop. I mean, we have everything. We have finances, we have productivity, time management, habits, we have mindset, we have business, marketing, sales, communication skills, storytelling, networking. It's everything you need to actually become a businessman and businesswoman. And it's not a theoretical course. I mean, and this is guaranteed, the promise we give is that if you take action, and that's a big if you take action, in those 9 months, when you finish, you will have a thriving business. And it will be a business you like. It will be a business you're passionate about, not just something that gives you money. So that's a promise. And that's what we've been doing for some time. And we've never had someone who couldn't fulfill it, who took action and didn't get the results they want. So one thing is that the mastermind, and the other thing is that we also give motivational talks, inspirational talks to entrepreneurs, to in enterprises, in different companies, courses in companies, and of course the one-on-one sessions that I think everyone needs, and myself included, to gain that confidence to start our projects.
Sounds like you have a lot of things going on and a lot of help that you offer people.
Because that's what I'm passionate about. So I actually live what I preach. I mean, I accompany people to know what their passion is and to build a business out of that if they want to. And I do the same. I mean, this is my passion, helping others find theirs and monetize that passion, make it profitable.
Oh, quick question before we end. What is the most interesting passions that you have seen people build their business around?
Oh, that's a great question. It's actually anything that people are passionate about. It could be there was a guy that was passionate about cars. I mean, it's a big word, cars, and he was like one of our success stories, because in only 6 weeks in doing the master, he had already his first client in his business, which only 6 weeks ago he didn't even know what the business was about. In those 6 weeks, he discovered he loved cars. He made a business of importing car parts, and he was like, I don't know, 18 years old. And in 6 weeks, he took action and did what people were, wanting to do maybe in years.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It could be anything. It literally could be anything you're passionate about. We're going to find a way to make that into a business, if you're willing
to execute.
Yeah. And I really put emphasis on that, and I repeat it because it's not enough for you to want it. If you
think about it,
want it, you're just a dreamer. And I love dreamers. And I really love more dreamers who take action and become achievers.
Yeah, it's the same as I would even before I would think about a lot of things, but I would not take any action towards it. And then I'm like, well, there's no surprise, there's no results, because I just take no action, having that imposter syndrome. But once I started taking action, it's like, wow, I have amazing connections. I start to build momentum. So that's when you get results.
Yeah. And one important thing, Astra, is that some people might be thinking, okay, I love this. I like the entrepreneurship mastermind, or I want a whole year sessions. But that kind of could frighten you, because some people just need to go step by step, just take their time on the processes. So if anyone wants to start their process today, what I would recommend is go to Amazon, purchase the book, The Princess Path, and it will be a great start, because it's a book on self-development and self-growth, as well as business growth. And it's novel, so you will read it in 5-6 hours. You will have the book read and hopefully internalize, which is the important part.
Yeah, that's the important part with any books, is really just don't stop at reading.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is another mistake I made for a really long time, until I started to take action, and I'm like, wow, actually what I'm reading I can implement, and then I get results.
Yeah, completely true.
And that's when books became more interesting. So
that's when they became powerful, because people just say read books, and you really said, this is it. I mean, I read it and nothing happened.
Yeah, it's like you read books and then you feel stuck, because you feel like, oh, I know so much, but nothing is happening. And I have been in that place myself, where I would know a lot of stuff, but I would feel like, oh, I'm in the same place, nothing is changing. But then I understood that, well, I have to take action. It doesn't matter how much you read if you take no action, because then that knowledge is irrelevant.
I actually believe it's not knowledge, it's just information.
It
becomes knowledge when you actually pass it through your body, through your experience, and you put it in action.
Yeah, and I think it's also then easier to teach it to others, because then you make it easier for them to understand, because you have gone through those experiences and you can explain it better.
I'll be sincere. I think it's the only way to teach others, by giving an example. First.
Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, you gotta be genuine. I mean, I couldn't be here standing and talking about building your business and growing your business if I weren't an entrepreneur. I mean, it couldn't be possible.
Maybe that's another question I wanted to ask, is how you, because there are many people that are teaching, but they haven't really done it. So how can, let's say, when somebody is looking for a coach or a mentor, how can they know that that person actually is living what they are preaching? Or are there like any signs that they can see? Because many times like it's hard to distinguish them.
Excellent question, Astra. Well, you gotta see what the person, not only what you gotta hear what they're saying, but you gotta see who they are. I mean, you gotta hire someone, a coach, a mentor, a guide, whoever that has been where you want to go. And here is a subtle comment. He doesn't have to be the number one in the world, because people, when they hear this, they say, oh, but I want to be a multimillionaire and have the best business ever, so I'm going to hire the best businessman ever. And I would say, okay, you can do that, but probably it's not going to be the best for you, because that
and you might not even afford it.
First of all, you're not going to be able to afford it. That's the first thing. But second thing, that person did a process to get there.
Yeah.
And usually it's a process that takes years. So when you're starting, if you have the money to hire that person will have to really make an effort and think what they felt in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it's years ago. So what I recommend is have someone who is just a few steps further in that road, in that path. He has to be in the end of it. That's not important. He just has to be a few steps further or a few steps faster, because he can know exactly what was in the step before. You see, and has it actually very, let's say, present every day, because he just lived it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because then, well, they can, if they are a few steps ahead, they can actually teach you better.
Of course. I mean, and with that, that's how I work. I'm completely honest. So if someone comes today, April 2021, and they say, oh no, we're in May.
May. Imagine.
Time flies.
Yeah.
May 2021. And they say, Dan, I want you to help you grow my business. I have already 60 companies and 120 enterprises. And I would say, okay, I could only be your personal coach. I'm not qualified today to be your business coach, because I haven't already reached that point. So,
yeah, and I think it's important to be able to admit that. Otherwise, like, you can't really serve them that well.
Of course. I mean, when I commit with a client, with their future, with their results they want, I commit because I'm 100% confident that we can make that happen. And that confidence comes with my experience, with my client's experience, with what I've learned, with what I've gained, and what I know I can do. Mm-hmm. So, as I say, if you're someone starting your business or wanting to grow your business, if the same man comes and says, I have 2 or 3 businesses, or I have 150 businesses, but I want is to learn how to gain more time to if I can start delegating and have more time with my family, then I say, okay, I can do that. But we're not going to talk about the 150 enterprises, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's being honest with yourself and with others, and that's crucial when you're serving. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you're serving others, you need to be straightforward. You have to be genuine, honest, and say, I'm competent with this, and I am not competent with these other things. And that's okay. At least not yet.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, well, thank you for this conversation. It's been really interesting. I learned a lot myself.
Thank you, Astra. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you for those great questions. I think lots of people who are listening will really resonate with what you were asking.